This is a battle in the Use It and Lose It tournament. Someone picked Pergamon. Awesome. Pergamon against Egypt on the Battle of Pyramids. So let's see what Pergamon has brought to the proverbial table. We have Tereos, one on each flank. Then we have Levy Pikes in the front. Behind them, 3 Agema Spears. Then we have Slingers, just standard dirt cheap Slingers. Light Peltasts. 1 picked Peltast over here, 1 picked Peltast, so two light Peltasts here and 1 picked Peltast there. On the flanks we have Galatian Swords, 2 Galatian Swords. For cavalry, Hippeus, Citizen Cav, Hippeus, and that's it. A very simple army. Heavily reliant on javelins and protecting these squishy but high charge Galatian Swords with spears. Now for Egypt, we have a peculiar formation here. Nubians, Levithareos, Nubian Spears, and Mercenary Leopard Warriors on the flanks. Skirmish Cav, Egyptian Cav. Up front we have Mercenary Rhodians, Mercenary Cretans. On the flanks, Galatian Swords, Galatian Royal Guard. For cavalry we have Egyptian Cavalry and Ptolemaic Cavalry. The center is a mix of thorax pikes and Egyptian pikes. And this is a curious formation here by Egypt. Sort of strong melee flanks. This flank is just protection from cavalry, it seems. And then pike center with some skirmishers. I wonder how that's going to work out. In this particular battle, I'm actually going to give the advantage to Pergamon, because Pergamon has fewer pikes than these guys. And there are some additional units here, so I think Egypt has 5 pikes in total. 1 pike unit walking through the forest here. The Mercenary Rhodians rushing up very early. Looks like they want to pop some shots off. Let's see who they fire on. They are firing on the Agema Spears, which is the proper target for them. That's where they can get the most bang for their stones, so to speak. Interesting to have 1 Rhodian and 1 Cretan. Egyptian cavalry rushing up to support them from any cavalry, and they're also running in to chase away the slingers, but this is bad for Egypt. This means it's javelin time. Egyptian cavalry does not like to eat javelins. The slingers get destroyed by these elite spears and slingers. But this Egyptian cavalry has a death wish, it seems. It rushes into pikes. It wants to get into the pikes while they are down, and it actually manages to do it. It's going to get hit by so many precursors and not get a lot of kills. It can't disengage here. So epic suicide charge, but not really effective with medium melee cavalry. If that was a very heavy shock cavalry unit, that could have been nice. But now it's gone. It didn't really do anything. The Levy Pikes rushing up towards the Mercenary Cretans here. The Mercenary Cretans are just pouring in the fire. On the flanks though, we have Mercenary Leopard Warriors and Nubian Spears being chased away by Galatian Swords and unsupported Levithareos. Just look at how quickly these guys are going to drop when they're being charged by Galatian Swords. They are going to go into square, but it's too late for the Levithareos. The Levithareos are going to get destroyed here. The Mercenary Leopard Warriors, they have a good charge bonus, so they're going to do a lot of damage to the Galatian Swords on the charge, but with 25 weapon damage, they are very expensive, and they cannot trade well with the Galatian Swords here. In the center, the pikes are creating a sort of little wedge, but doesn't help them much. The Hippeus come in, and they wreck 2 elite skirmishers very, very quickly. So these units are off the field. The pikes get engaged. Nicely done here in engaging the pikes at the flanks like that. Egyptian Cav comes in to support these Mercenary Cretans, but they took so much damage. Galatian Swords again in a block formation. So this Galatian sword, that isn't quite spaghetti, but almost, is going to be able to wrap around. And this is why these dense formations are not really effective, because now there are Galatian swords wrapping around and attacking these guys in the flanks. So the Galatian swords here, winning slightly, losing slightly, but it's a difference of about 10 men, and that is major. Now the Leopard Warriors losing decisively. The Galatian swords are winning decisively against Levi Thoreos, of course. And Pergamon is getting some good cavalry engagements here, it seems, against the Egyptian cavalry. Also having Thoreos spears in close support. This Galatian Royal Guard is going to be able to destroy Thoreos on the charge, of course. And it's taking fire from the flank of this picked peltast. And some of these guys have their backs turned. They're going to take a lot of damage from the picked peltasts. So this is nice use of picked peltasts, using them to fire into a melee blob like this. Their kills are starting to rack up really quickly. Already getting experience out of this engagement. This is a great engagement for picked peltasts. Using a cheaper unit to hold it and then sending in picked peltasts to damage them. So while that's been going on, Egypt is losing the flanks. Egypt is losing the center. Trying to send the thorax pikes here up against the Agema spears. The Agema spears should just pull back and shower them with javelins. Levi pikes here, winning against Egyptian pikes with help of light peltasts firing into the back of the pikes. Really nice use of these picked peltasts, but to be able to use them like this, you have to secure the cavalry dominance. And Pergamon was able to secure the cavalry dominance. So Egypt is chain routing at the moment. And that's it for Egypt versus Pergamon. Egypt actually manages to lose against Pergamon in no small part because Egypt only has 3 sword units. A peculiar choice. Good kills on these peltasts. Good kills on one of the Peos, but the Galatian swords do a great job here for Pergamon. The Egyptian army was not a powerful one, especially not considering that, I mean, against Pergamon you basically know what you're going to be facing. You know you're going to be facing a few javelins, a few shock cav, you know you're going to be facing a few Thoreos, and the answer to that is, as the answer is to many other things in Rome too, to bring good melee infantry. And these Galatian swords and the Galatian swordsmen are great low tier choices. So for Egypt, let's just see what Egypt potentially could do here, because Egypt can do some interesting things. It's not super powerful, but it's interesting. So with melee infantry being limited, what Egypt can do is go for a dirt cheap Carian Axeman General. Then they can bring in some Galatian swords, for example, 4 Galatian swords. Now against Pergamon in particular, thorax swords are actually not the worst choice you could make, because they are sturdy and they can do damage to they can do well against units like Thoreos spears. They will die to Agema spears on the charge, but I would consider bringing in something like a few thorax and just not bring any pikes. The Levi Thoreos are a good choice. Probably bring something like 4 Thoreos. The problem starts to make itself apparent in the melee and shock cavalry department, because for Egypt the cavalry is so expensive, the shock cavalry. And the Egyptian cavalry, although it has high melee attack, it has a good bonus versus large, it's not really good for engaging shock cavalry head on, which is true for most melee cavalry. Now, Pergamon also lacks elite skirmishers, so bringing in some elite skirmishers is a good choice for Egypt. And okay, let's bring in a Royal Thorax Sword as well. So now Egypt has 8 melee units. It has 4 cavalry units, and the cavalry is just used defensively. Very defensively. And the rest of the army, well, against Pergamon, I mean, these mercenary leopard warriors are so expensive. I don't see anyone else bringing them to battle. So against Pergamon, maybe bring in some more citizen cavalry, maybe bring in some Ptolemaic cavalry, but I would never leave home without 8 melee units against Pergamon. I just wouldn't feel safe. You can even bring a Galatian Royal Guard, but I don't think it's really needed against Pergamon. So a few Rhodians, extra Rhodians could be nice. An additional cavalry unit could be nice. You just need to be very aware that you do not try to engage the enemy shock cavalry with your own Egyptian cavalry. If you do, keep them behind Levi Thureos. Try to let them charge. Just play very defensively with Levi Thureos. Play very defensively with the cavalry. Try to take shots with the mercenary Rhodians on a game spears, and more importantly on the cavalry, and rely on the melee, rely on the swords basically to tie down the spears of Pergamon. So I never thought I would make a video talking about how to counter Pergamon, because it's so obvious, but bringing too few units and bringing pikes that necessitate that you play very defensively actually plays to the strength of Pergamon, allowing them to stay at range and shower you with javelins, and you do not want that. Strength and honor.